Hey there, Chad here for the AI Content Dojo, and in this video, I just want to kind of showcase a really quick workflow that you could probably use inside of Frase to help you craft articles. I'm not going to say fast, like super fast or anything like that. That's generally not how I like to teach using these AI tools. I would prefer that you take the time, make sure that you're creating an article that is something that's fantastic for your reader. Like, make that connection, make sure you're giving them what they need. And if you can do that more quickly because of these AI tools like Frase, then fantastic. But these tools are more than just fast, right? These tools are also helping you make sure that you're reaching the right number of keyword usage, competition, the gaps between what you've got and what they have. And also giving you a little bit of ideas that you maybe wouldn't have thought of when writing your content. So it's more than just getting it out faster as well. So I've already started a document, Writing Faster. It's basically empty right now. In this article, I want to show you some interesting new ways to write faster. I'm just going to take this out. I was just experimenting a little bit. So I'll go over to my content tab. If you're unfamiliar with Frase, let me get this thing out of the way. If you're not familiar with Frase, the right sidebar is the AI research. The left sidebar, or the left area, is where you do your writing. Down below, you have a menu bar, and in there is where the new magic is, the Write For Me magic. So what we want to do is a really high-level overview of what we're going to try to achieve here. And it might be a little bit difficult because this is a beta of their writing AI stuff. But in theory, what we're going to try and do is we're going to get an introduction paragraph going, an introduction to our article. We're going to get an outline started. We're going to try and use some keywords and stuff from the research in our outline to kind of make sure we're kind of tracking there. And plus the keywords, they're keywords for a reason, right? For the topic, these are the words that are key. It's kind of what they mean. It's not just keywords because a whole bunch of people search for it. No, I'm referring to keywords because they're the important words for this topic, more or less. And then, close it out with some kind of a conclusion. Traditionally, using the AI tools like this, even like Shortly or Jarvis and everything, conclusions can be a little bit more difficult. Also, as of the time of recording this, probably 2 hours from now, 3 hours from now, Frase is getting an update, and they're going to have templates, or more templates than they have now, which are found at least in this UI as it is right now today, or at this hour, is found right here. And you pick a template to choose a certain type of content that you want to achieve with the AI. So blog post introduction, for instance, could be one. And let's just start there and see what we can get. This article is about let's just say it's ways to write faster. Should I put using AI? I've always found it a little bit difficult to write about AI with AI, which is kind of strange, isn't it? Let's just say ways to write faster. That's going to be obviously this keyword phrase is going to be something that's massively difficult to try and compete against the big tools that are already out there. Okay, these 10 tips. We're going to have 10 tips. It's a big long article. Okay, so writing fast doesn't mean sloppy, it means efficient. Here's what you should keep in mind if you want to speed up your writing process without sacrificing quality. These 10 tips will give you ideas. All right, that's not too bad. I showed you the AI way of creating the introduction. From my experience with a lot of AI tools like this, is there's a certain amount of content that you want to start off with that is kind of like a paragraph of the points that you're going to hit throughout the article, and it's manually written by you because your topic. Like, I'm just assuming that when you're writing, the baseline for what I'm going to assume about you is that you're writing about a topic that you know about, you've got experience with it, and you spent the time to do the research in this particular subtopic of what you're going to write about. To me, 80% of an article is research. The amount of information you know about it, and the ways that people consume that information, the gaps in that information that people need, is going to be your secret weapon in the future, because too many people are in too much of a hurry. And so 80% of your time should be spent doing research and making sure you really, really, really know that topic and can make that connection with your reader. Then the 20% left is the writing, and a way to write faster, if I were to give you like a really high level overview, it is intro, skeleton, which is the outline, closing, right? And in that skeleton, you can have, different bones that have different subcomponents to them, right? Let's just say. So in essence, you could have outlines within outlines, if you want to think of it that way. And the AI can help with that. And we'll see if that is something that Frase can do in this AI beta as well. So we need to give it some content. I think I already have something copied, but what I'm going to do is hit this write for me button. And what that does, I've already got it here. Okay. I forgot I already wrote it in there. When you hit that write for me button once, it'll switch over into kind of AI writing mode, which gives you this context box. This is a place where you can kind of provide the AI with some clues on what it is that you want to write about. And so it's highly advisable that you do use that. And I also like to crank the creativity up to at least 2, just for the start. I find that 1 tries to kind of really stick too much to being real serious. Whereas 2 gives it a little bit more freedom to choose. Like I've probably said this in a few videos now, but creativity in the AI language model space means that it has a little bit more freedom to associate certain words to each other instead of being real strict about it. So in a sense, it kind of mimics creativity, but it's not technically really like creativity. One of those AI nerd things. Sorry. Okay, so we need an outline. Let's just see if the tool will give us an outline. They have this functionality down here. Smart list, outline from the above. Let's see if it sees that whole 10 tips thing and starts down Yeah. Stop at 10. Oh, cool. Okay. Very good Frase. Very good. I like it. Now, you probably, well, not probably, in the world of these AI writing tools, you never really want to take the content as is. You should pay attention to it while it's writing it. You should definitely have a nice long edit session to make sure that you're turning it into your voice. And watch it while it's going, and while you're going through it, while you're in the middle of writing your article. Watch it too, because there could be times where it kind of just says something that's really wrong. And if you leave it in there, it might reuse that throughout your article, and then you'll have to fix that later in editing in multiple places. But if you catch it while you're writing, it'll definitely speed up your process in the future. Okay, so now you can see this would be down here. We'd probably have something like a conclusion and maybe a call to action or something. So we've got the structure of our article going. Now, one of the cool things about Frase is that it's your AI research assistant too. So when you create a document, in this case, I started the document based on the search term writing faster. That means Frase has gone out there, has seen what else is out there ranking in Google for that search term. We can see masterclass, we got smart blogger, enchanting marketing, and a lot of really strong competition, really. But what this means is you can go in here and you can kind of study what it is that they're writing about. See, I used to think it was bright and easy, it was failing. It's you can learn kind of the things that they've written and maybe spark some ideas for yours. Obviously, don't take their content. That's stealing. But if you want to use some fair use, maybe just a couple of a sentence and a half or 2 of their content, and then quote it and cite the source and stuff, you can use that throughout your articles as well. Kind of add a little bit of additional information for your reader if you feel that that's important for them to have. But what I'm looking for now is the topic score. So here it starts off by default in long tail, and you can see I'm at 8% already, even though this is all the content we have right now. But in the topic score, you basically get all your keywords, and it starts off with long tail, and those are usually combinations of words that are longer than just one single word, and so therefore long tail. You'll usually find in phrase that most of the long tail stuff is like 2 words, sometimes 3. But long tail keywords can obviously be much more than that. And you can switch this here to top topics, which basically gives you mostly just the core keywords. And these are things that you can use. These are the words that you might try and look in and see where you could use them, maybe in your outline, to kind of give the AI a little bit more of a topic rich, keyword rich, bit of context to work with as it's editing or as it's writing for you. So things like writing speed. Let's see. Start with the end in mind. Get out of your own way. Read more books on how to improve. Let's change this. Improve writing speed. Oops. Okay. Writing speed is now in there. Practice makes perfect. Find ways to be creative. Have fun. See, chunks, rabbit hole, writing flow. Find your writing. Oops. Don't overthink it. Find your writing flow. This is a keyword. Writing speed was a keyword. So basically, we end up with using those words throughout our outline. And in a lot of cases, these types of words will just add a little bit more of like a topic-rich context to the AI, which will make more sense to you when you're in the middle of writing. When it starts using some of those words, kind of key off of them to write more content that actually kind of fits with what you're trying to do. Okay, so we're going to assume that these are going to be our sections of the article. So we break them down, and you would turn them into headings. Now, one of the things that Frase does when it's creating these outlines is it numbers them. I mean, it depends on how you do things, but one of the things to be careful with AI are patterns. So if you have a list that looks like 1, 2, 3, the AI is going to see that and think, oh, well, maybe the writer wants 4, 5, 6. It's going to continue that trend. But what if you are actually in a mode where you're like, this is your outline, and you want to just get content here, right? So let's switch back into writing mode, and let's just see what happens when we do write for me. Is it going to write about get out of your own way? Let's see. Yeah. Yep, it's doing pretty good. Okay, and then you can see that funny enough, it started on another because it's following the pattern, but luckily it's the same sort of headline there. You can just remove that now. Start with the end in mind. If you know where you want to go and have some idea what happens along the way, then you don't waste time trying to figure out things at every step. It's really good. So when I'm doing these, when I'm doing an article, I've really got 2 ways that I look at these. One is the AI dance, where that means that you write a little bit, you let the AI write a little bit, you write a little bit, you kind of just dance back and forth as you go through your article. What that'll produce is that you end up with a more on-point article at the end that will have less editing. The other way is kind of the spaghetti monster way of doing it, right? Where you're just throwing content at the wall and seeing what sticks. You can probably get an article done faster the spaghetti monster way, but it'll be a lot more editing. And not just editing like, the commas are missing or got to change the certain words here and there. I'm talking about where you might have to remove large chunks of content or totally reword large chunks of content to match your voice and things like that. How you do it is up to you. At the end of the day, the only person that's going to be judging you really is that reader that's running that search, right? So that's that reader, that person out there in the world who's looking for ways of writing faster finds your article. And if you did the spaghetti monster way and you just left it as is, you're going to have a pretty empty article. It's going to have a lot of words, it's going to have a lot of fluff, it's going to have a lot of, technically the content is kind of in there, but it'll be lacking kind of a soul, right? Like you as the writer didn't write it into your voice, didn't find ways to make that connection with the reader. And so that's really important. It's probably the most important thing going forward when these tools are out there helping people who don't care write tons of content, right? If there's tons of empty content out there, you can't also be writing empty content. You need to be making sure that you're really taking that extra step and making something awesome for your reader. Okay, so I'm not going to try and go through the whole, article here. You would probably do more per section. You shouldn't. It's up to it depends on your article, of course, but you probably shouldn't be like section, one tiny paragraph, not even barely a paragraph, section, one tiny paragraph, section. Don't do that. Make sure that it's a nice, solid actual section, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs or something per. Get the point across. Use a little bit of wit, some flavor. Some of the jargon and lingo that maybe your reader would be using. Things like that. Make that connection. Just don't be like chunk through it like a real rigid kind of like setting like this. So yeah, I'm not going to go through all of this. As you can see, if you put 2 or 3 paragraphs per section, you're probably going to end up with an article around 2,000 words in a case where you got 10 sections like this, maybe even more, 2,500 maybe, depends. It'll be a pretty beefy article, and it could be a really good one, as long as you pay attention. But at the same time, if you're in, even though this article is about writing faster, I'm going to give you this advice too, is don't try to do too much editing while you're going, right? You've probably heard this before. It's very common advice, but just get it out of your head. Just bam, put it into the document. Go. Let the AI add more. Let the AI sort of pull it out of your brain too. In some cases, what it writes is just what you would have written anyways. And just kind of, and as you go, you're going to get better at using these tools, right? It's a skill. These tools are awesome, but at the end of the day, you've heard this other term, right? Garbage in, garbage out. Depending on what you've got in it, what you're putting into it, is going to give you better results. So practice. Maybe, if you have Frase and you have the SEO add-on, you have unlimited generation, which means that you can just start a document, play around, see what happens when you do certain things, and get better at using the tool, really. So let's see what happens if let's crank the creativity up here a little bit more. Lower this down to about 60. And let's see if we can get a second paragraph without it jumping to a whole new section. No. Okay, so, all right, patterns. Like I said, patterns are a little bit difficult. You gotta, it's actually, the content is good in this case, but just take that out in that kind of case. But what I want to do is show you that, if you just take this out, take away the pattern and then do the right, it shouldn't try to jump to like 2 and 3 and whatever. Okay, see if we can get some more. This would be sort of the spaghetti monster way, where you let the AI write a lot, and then you would go through and really heavily edit this to match what your writing style and stuff like that. What you might do in the dance method is, let's see, start with the end. Let's take away the number 2. Start with the end in mind. If you know where you want to go and have some idea of what needs to happen along the way, then you won't waste time trying to figure things out at every step. This also helps you avoid unnecessary detours. You could also use the transitions here in Frase, and you could do something like furthermore, and really all the AI, all that is doing right there is literally adding the word furthermore and then letting the AI take over. Furthermore, knowing exactly what you want to say before starting makes it easier to stay focused through the entire piece. Very nice. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You may already know someone who has experience in the field you're interested in. Okay. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with having little small sections within, right? Because this is an H2, right? Maybe this will be your H3. And let's do another transition. Let's say that as long as. See if what it says. I'm kind of interested now. All right. I like that. As long as you aren't asking for personal favors, that's cool. Let's make this our H3. Okay. So normally when I'm writing, I don't let the AI write this much. I do the dance more. So like, I can let me just show you another technique. This one's this one is probably, if you got this far in the video and you're watching this, it might be a little surprising for you. Let's see if Frase does well with what I call paragraph shredding. We basically chop this down, right? And we do cut. Some work well for different types of articles. While that looks like a good place to stop. Chop. Try using one method each time use. Okay, let's just chop. Then compare notes afterwards. We'll just leave that as is. What worked best for you? Which one? Okay, let's just take those out. Well, oh, no. Hold on. Take out these questions here. Okay. So what we have here are 3 leads. There are lots of methods. Let's let it write. Sorry, I hit that key a little hard. It might have registered on the mic. I'm sorry. Okay. So we've got a little bit. Let's put that. Whoa, it's a big jump. All right. Right again for the second one that we shredded. All right, it got a little far. Let's take that out. Third one that we shredded. So what we're doing here is we're basically turning what was one paragraph into almost 3. All right, we'll take this part out too. Then compare notes afterwards. Okay, so that would be more of like what dancing with the AI would be, like where the first part of the sentence would be something that you wrote. The second part would be letting the AI take over. It's just that in this case, I showed it to you in the sort of paragraph shredder methodology, where you just take a paragraph, chop it down to, or put each sentence on a new line, chop the sentences in half, or where it kind of makes sense, cut them there, and then let the AI kind of take over at that point. Okay, so that's how you would work your way through an article. We're inside of Frase now, so let's assume that this is our first draft. Our first draft is done. We've got our intro. We've got all of our content sections filled in. We got our conclusion written. And now we're at the point where it's time to kind of do some editing. In this part of my workflow, it can be 2 things. I could either do some SEO optimization stuff, or I could just switch into full-on editing mode and start rewriting everything. I generally do the editing first, meaning I'll take all of this content and I'll paste it into a Grammarly document. I'll let Grammarly fix the punctuation and spelling and all that kind of stuff, obviously, really fast. And then inside of Grammarly, they actually have like this clarity engine, which is its own AI that will help rewrite certain paragraphs and sentences and stuff to make more sense and get rid of like passive voice and stuff like that. And just kind of that brief kind of technical overview of editing or review from Grammarly will be a great start to your editing. After that, you should be reading it. Reading it aloud is really great too, because you can kind of hear yourself say something that doesn't really sound right, and then you can fix that sentence more easily. But at that editing stage, you're kind of changing so much that I prefer to do the SEO after that, because you don't want to end up like undoing the SEO work that you did when you're doing all your editing and stuff, right? So after your draft, do your editing, bring it to your voice, maybe call it editing phase 1 or something like that, and you'll end up doing your SEO and then maybe a slight more editing after that if you need to. But so first draft is done. Let's assume that our editing is done now. We've gone through, we've fixed all the punctuation and the spelling and all the clarity and all that kind of stuff. And now we're almost ready to publish it. But before that, we should probably look at our topic score. In this case, it's a little weak, 24%. It hasn't even reached the average. The yellow bar here means that that's the average score that all the competitors have got when using these keywords, right? So you want to at least beat that. You probably want to be 100%, but sometimes that's not really realistic, because sometimes fitting some of these words into your content just doesn't quite work, But at this point, you would go through and you'd find ways to kind of use these words. Book is used 12 by 12 of the sources, so somewhere in there you need to figure it out. These 10 writing skills while maintaining high standards, whether writing blog posts or even a book, these will give you these what's, right? These tips will give you writing superpower. Okay, so I used a couple more of the words. My score is going up a little bit, and you just kind of do the same thing. Obviously, this article is not actually done. There's a huge chunk of this content. With only 578 words, it's not realistic to expect a really high score. But if you've got 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 word article going and your score isn't really high, then going through here and adding the words in the necessary numbers. As you can see here, it says the word writing should be in my content 25 times. But there's also some frequency going on here, right? If you look here in the lower left-hand corner, this article is 578 words right now. If I use the word writing 25 times in that, it's going to look like keyword stuffing to Google, right? You don't want that. So if you get a pretty decently long article and eventually you used up 25 words, this will turn green. It'll stay yellow if you've used the 25 words and you don't have enough content. So if you're wondering why you're like, I've used it 25 times, but it's not turning green, that's because you probably need to write more content. And yeah, so that's it for that. So that's about as far as I really go with SEO optimization inside of this editing and stuff. After you publish it into your article, into your website, you would look for ways of interlinking it between the different content, like find other pages that should link to that, and then find other pages in your site that you should link to from that as well, all internal to your own website and stuff like that. Google recently updated that if you have like things like affiliate links or sponsored content and stuff like that, you should label those links as rel sponsored. So make sure you do things like that after you publish. But that would basically be the workflow. So let's just wrap up one more time. The workflow is start a document in Frase with the search term that you're expecting your reader to search for in Google. Write an intro. Go into your context here. Give Frase a clue as to what it is that you're going to write about. Maybe use a template to start an intro, but maybe add some more. This is a really short intro, not very beefy, doesn't have much of a hook. You want to do things that really entice your reader, give them an idea of what you're going to give them, and make that connection with them. Then you get your outline going, maybe even using the tools here from Frase, using Smart List to get an outline, or just writing it yourself. You could look over here at these topic scores and these words, and knowing your topic and knowing your reader, you could just write your outline yourself and use this information over here to kind of augment your ability to do that. After you have your outline done, you start going through each of the sections, either doing an AI dance or a little bit of the spaghetti monster way. But keep in mind, if you let the AI write a lot, you're going to have a lot more editing, which is okay. I actually kind of lately have kind of been preferring the editing part. After I just finished writing a book, the editing actually seems kind of fun sometimes. It's interesting. It's weird. I never expected that, but anyway. And so you've got intro, outline, you're filling in your sections, you get down to the end, you write your conclusion, then you do your editing, and then you do your SEO optimization, and then you publish. Pretty simple stuff. And I like to wrap that up with making sure from start to end that you always have that reader in mind, and even this search term in mind. Remember that they're going to Google and they're writing the word writing faster into, or the words writing faster into Google. So give them what they need, make a nice connection with them. You know your reader. It's your website, it's your content. Be the writer, be awesome. And yeah. So I guess that's the end of this video as far as the how-to part goes. I do want to say that the Frase team was really awesome. They gave me a discount code to offer to you. If you don't have Frase yet and you go to sign up, if you use, I'm just going to write it in here. If you use the discount code Dojo Discount, and that would be all lowercase, you will get 25% off. What was that? 25% off for 3 months. So the first 3 months. And you can actually use that on the annual plan too. When you use it on the annual plan, it'll take off 3 months worth of discount. So it's not like you get a huge extra discount. But the annual plan itself does have a 15% discount on it too. So you do actually save a little bit more. But that's Dojo Discount. If you don't have Frase and you want to jump in and get on this tool while it's early, I can't say for sure, but I imagine that at some point in the future the price is just going to have to go up, right? Because this thing is becoming more and more powerful. And like I said, today, probably in the next couple of hours, there's going to be more templates like you saw over here. Templates, and select template. There's 3 right here, and I don't even think that these are the 3 that these templates count yet. Like, I think that they're just kind of an experiment at this point, but the new templates that are coming today are going to be even more powerful than this. And also there's going to be probably 26 or something of them doing all sorts of content for you. So Frase is getting more powerful. After that, commands are coming. That means like you can be in the middle of your content and do something like Frase, give me some content ideas for the above, or something like that. And when you run that command, it's going to give you content ideas for the above, just through a natural language ask. So that kind of stuff is coming. So if you want to get in now and you want a discount, just hit that when you sign up, enter that Dojo discount code, and you'll get 25% off for 3 months. So that's it for now. And there's going to be a lot more Frase videos coming because there's a lot to talk about, especially as changes come. So stay tuned. More to come. Take care.